Welcome to Cats and Rats Podcast, covering your Florida Panthers.
Hey everyone, welcome to the newest episode of the Cats and Rats, number 25, episode Victor Kozlaf and Maki Samaskevich. I'm here joined with my co-hosts as always, Cody Stevens and Nick Levine. But I'm going to introduce our two guests here today. This is our international episode. I'm going to throw it to Ben Saunders over in Wales right now. How's it going, Ben?
Yeah, good, man. You all good?
All good, all good. So let's just get into this here, Ben. How did you start as a Panthers fan? Give us kind of a little bit of your origin story there.
Okay, so I started following a local team called the Cardiff Devils. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of them, but they play in the British Hockey League. And it was kind of like a birthday thing, you know. It was like, I think somebody mentioned it to my dad in work about going to see ice hockey. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go and give it a go. Like, tickets are relatively cheap at the time. And I just started going to watching games. And and it was really cool. Like, you know, the vibe was awesome. Like, the game was amazing. It was way better and more entertaining than watching soccer and everything like that. So, yeah. And then like a few years in, or maybe a year or so in, they did this thing in the shop every now and again where they would just bring NHL merch around, and I picked up this. I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, you guys on our YouTube channel there, a little mini the Florida Panthers goalie mask. I remember when those were released there, and this is a palm tree on it there too. That's nice.
This has been through a hell of a lot. As you can guys see, it's all battered and bruised and everything. It's probably about, I don't know, over 25 years old. Wow. And yeah, so that's kind of when I started thinking, okay, I'm going to start to pick an NHL team. And that's when I kind of got into the Panthers. And like growing up, like after watching ice hockey, I started playing street hockey with my my best friend who I've known for like 34 years. And I just loved the game. And then I joined a local inline team, played there when I was about 16, I think. And then I started trying to get into ice as well. I played about three seasons for my local rec team. And and obviously the love for the game just grew and grew. So,
and you're a defenseman at heart, like our co-host here, Cody. So you guys are gonna have fun.
Yeah, I got into the game and I was playing playing defenseman. And then you know what it's like. You get to play all positions growing up. I was taught D from day one basically, and I got thrown into playing D, playing ice, so I can, you know, I read that game from a D man's perspective a lot more than I ever did playing forward and anything. So, but yeah, like I said, nowadays I play mainly D. But it is quite fun to take the odd rush at forward every now and again and try and get the blood flowing and that kind of thing.
A defenseman's dream. It's a breakaway.
Yeah, I just prefer it because you can just read the game more from there. You can see it all back there, except for the goalie, of course. Like, but So after picking up this little gem, I was like, well, you know, maybe it's time to go and pick an NHL team. And obviously, as I think a lot of us were doing at the time, we were playing the NHL games on PC, and funny story, I had the Mega Drive version of NHL '96 with Beezer on the cover.
Oh wow!
Which was amazing.
I had that on PC back in the day. We're showing our age there a little.
Yeah,
that was a good game though. Great commentary by Jim Houston, I believe. Now of Hockey Night Canada.
I don't think I got it at the time it was released. It was probably maybe a few years after that, but obviously, you know, it's just the first one you pick up, and it was like Beezer was on there, and he looked cool in the uniform and everything. So I just chose the Panthers, and then it just grew and grew from there. Really, like you know, me and Kirby have spoke about it. And like, you just start by following any way you can. Like, especially being overseas, like I tried to follow like on internet radio for a long time. Used to use the old dial-up and stuff, and listen to the radio on the Panthers website.
I'm with you there. That was my era with the Bure era. Internet radio was big for me. It was still exciting calls by, I think, Jeff Rimmer at the time. Could be mistaken. Their goalie might have been doing a little bit too. I'm not sure who the cast was now. But yeah, they had to make it exciting, you know. Theater of the mind with Pavel Bure. And it was still exciting to listen.
Yeah, Bure was the first guy that I recognized as like an all-time superstar on the team. Like I said, I know it's like not the way you should be doing it. But obviously being overseas, I was like, well, hang on, this guy's ratings on this game are really good, so he must be really good. And he was like scoring all the goals for me when I was playing. So yeah, and I just stuck with him. And like eventually then I was like, going down the road of trying to get any stream I could to watch the game, staying up late. I was obviously as a kid back then, so it didn't really matter about work. I didn't really care about like missing sleep and all, and you can live off 2 hours when you're a kid, right? And I think I must have took the plunge then it must have been about 10 years ago that I said, right, I'm going to get the full-on subscription to the NHL TV. And I think I've probably watched like 99% of the games ever since and just gone from there, really.
We'll get into more of kind of your journey. And as we can see, if you're watching us again on the YouTube channel, Ben's got the Stanley Cup Championship shirt on and hat on as well. So Ben, thank you for joining us here today. And we'll go to our other guest today, one of our another main speakers on our Spaces post-game show, international, if you want to be technical about it, my fellow Canadian, Raian Chunara. How's it going, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I want to start telling my journey as a Panthers fan. It wasn't like Ben's. For me, growing up in Canada, you're just surrounded by hockey everywhere you go. From when you're 3, when you're 4, it's just all around you. That's all everyone talks about. That's the biggest thing in culture for Canada. And especially was back in the day before, all the iPads and this, and that's what kids were busy with. Back in the day, it was just you go outside and you play some street hockey with your friends. And ever since I could remember 3 or 4, I was just a huge goalie guy. Always wanted to be a goalie. I thought they were the coolest person on the team. They were the reason why a team won when they're making 30 saves, 40 saves a game. So I actually fell in love with Luongo. And I know, Kirby, you're a big Luongo fan too. We talk about that all the time. But just his journey, I watched him play when I was really young and before I had a favorite team. And I just loved watching Luongo play. And then I guess that turned into love for the Florida Panthers because of it ever since I was younger. And just, watching him go through his journey. And then when he came back to Florida, it was huge just for the team because it just gave him that spark, I felt like. And it just brought back my childhood memories watching Luongo play there. And, I was like the only Florida Panther fan I knew as a kid just because I'm in Edmonton currently and have been here my whole life, where no one else was a Panthers fan. They look at you silly when you tell them. But I just didn't want to be with the masses, I guess. I never had that connection to the Oilers. So I've just been a huge Florida Panthers fan since then. And he's obviously retired now. He's at the organization. He finally got his name on the cup, which I love. And I've stuck with the team through and through since those years. And, you get a special satisfaction of watching a team you've been watching for so long and supporting finally win. And it's just like, I have such an emotional connection now to the franchise. So ever since then, I've been a huge Florida Panthers fan since I was really young. And, as we've won more, we gain a little more respect. I remember growing up, it was a lot of, you're a Panthers fan? They're not even a real team. Like, get some fans. The amount of attendance jokes I heard was like, you can go to the game for $5 or whatever. And
the one I heard, are you related to Jeb Bush? I was like, I don't even know who that is. It's like governor at that time, I think.
Yeah, so it was just stuff like that where people really question you. And it's like, why'd you pick such like a loser team? And as the years went forward, as I went through high school, the team started to be a little better, Like, we weren't winning playoff series yet, but we were making the playoffs. We were getting some national attention, not much, but when Barkov was starting to be a superstar, we got Yager. And it was those days where I was sitting in school one day, one of my favorite stories to tell, in high school, and my principal came up to me and he sees me wearing my Florida Panthers hoodie and he asked to talk to me. He's like, can I talk to you after lunch? And here I'm thinking I'm in trouble. They caught me, I did something because, high school, I had even middle school, I was a little bit of a problem child. But he takes me into his office and he talks to me. He's like, so you're a Florida Panthers fan? And here I'm thinking, this is the most random question ever. Like, yeah. And he's like, my nephew plays on the Florida Panthers. So here I am thinking, this guy's last name is not the same as the Panthers. But he tells me his nephew's Mark Pysyk, who's Canadian from Alberta, I believe. And he said he would love to get me some autographs or pass on the message I have for him. So I'm telling my principal, and I was like, yeah, I've just been a huge fan for the longest time. And then he's like, I can get you a printed message. So I actually have a couple here I would like to show you.
Yeah, everyone on the YouTube channel here. Ryan's got some nice memorabilia. The Mark Pysyk one. Your name on it there too. That's nice. That's a nice shot.
Nice. So it really meant a lot. And Mark Pysyk, so that's why he's always been one of my favorite former Panthers because of that. And then he even got me a nice Barkov autograph, which was really nice of him. And even though he's no longer with us, everyone's favorite former Panther, Jonathan Huberdeau.
That's a good signature, Hubie.
Yeah. And so then, I just been a Panthers fan since there as I've gone through university. I go to university near Toronto, still a Panthers fan there, which, that's a little heated rivalry with the Leafs. And it's just, since then, just always going to stay loyal to the Panthers. So,
no. Well, yeah, thanks, Brian, for sharing your story there. And it's great that we brought you on for this episode. We didn't really design it this way, but, Ben being, as we say, kind of a defenseman, we're going to have a defense poll ranking segment coming up here later on in this podcast episode. And our next segment here, Cody, kind of ties into Ryan kind of nicely too, where he just said, where he resides. So this kind of just fell on our lap this episode here because this video just broke 48 hours ago, Cody?
Yeah, about 3 days ago, I think.
3 days ago.
And this is for the audio listeners right now. We're gonna share a little video of there was a video that's going around that shows Edmonton and the Oilers in the locker room after losing Game 7 Stanley Cup Final. And not gonna lie, it's a bit of a tough one, if you ask me.
Yeah, we're gonna get everyone's kind of feelings and takes on this, Cody, because I think we'll kind of differ with our opinions and views. So again, watching on the YouTube channel of Cody, you're able to pull it up here for our audience here. And just kind of the reactions and everything like that.
Yep.
You're able to get it there?
Yep. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, and I don't know if Nick's even seen this. So he's going to kind of be watching it.
I have not, but it definitely sounds like something I want to see. So
yeah, and I want everyone's kind of unfiltered opinion on the video. Kind of their viewpoint. I know I talked with a couple of you kind of off the air and stuff like that. So.
Yep. All right. Here we are.
Again, here it is on our YouTube channel. And we'll just kind of talk through this through on mute here. You just kind of see the players in the dressing room. They can hear Gary Bettman in the background, right, Cody?
Yeah, Gary Bettman's in the back, and I believe he's announcing the Conn Smythe winner during this as well.
Yeah, and you see a shot of McDavid there. Next, so
pure.
So who wants to kind of jump in first here with your feelings on this video? I did not comment on this. I was waiting for this podcast episode to comment publicly to our community. I know we kind of talked about maybe a little bit last night on Spaces when we did our trivia night, but yeah, whoever wants to jump in here, Ben, Ryan, Nick.
Yeah, man, I'll go for it. I mean, this might sound a bit harsh and a bit horrible, but my instant reaction, my heartfelt reaction was when I saw it was kind of screw 'em. We're the champs. I kind of didn't want to see it at the time. I was just why am I I scrolling through Instagram or whatever it was, and I was so, but then obviously my brain turns around and tells me look, you are a sportsman yourself as well. It's not the best situation ever to be in. I've been on the end of championship game losses, obviously not to that level, but yeah, it's a tough watch, when you actually take yourself away from being a Panthers fan, and it's probably one of the worst feelings in the world right at that moment.
It's I don't think it's still one of the worst feelings I've ever felt. Losing championship games like that, especially if it's a long, grueling tournament that you just went to battle with your team. And, all jokes aside, as some Panther fans, they probably laugh at it and stuff like that, haha, that, we did that to them. But it's just, the Edmonton Oilers this past season was probably the most resilient team in the NHL this past year. I mean, the horrible start they got off to, there are people in our spaces saying they weren't even going to make the playoffs at one point, which I thought.
Coaching change.
Yeah. And it was just, and the way they battled back, and especially in the Cup final, I thought they were a great team. they just ran out of gas at the end. You could see it with their final rushes. But as an athlete and you with a team, you have a team like that, and especially going through experiences like that, you kind of come closer, become more of a family. And it's just tough. Like even in the video, the sound wasn't on, but it's pure silence. It's just pure, just depression and everything in between. It's a tough look if you're an athlete, but if you're like outside looking in, you're just like, why are they so sad? Stuff like that. But if you played sports, that feeling is the absolute worst. I'd rather come in like it almost like to avoid that feeling. I'd almost rather come in last and come in second. Just that feeling just sucks. I can't describe it.
I think
anymore.
the way they came in second too, because I know we won the cup and everybody's happy about it, but we still blew a 3-0 series lead.
They'll forget that with time.
I'm just saying, could you imagine the video we would have had if it didn't go our way this year?
Oh, okay. I want to jump in on that point of Nick's right now because I almost forgot that, but thank you for reminding me, Nick. I think Cody and I have the best pulse on the fan base because talking to them after every single game, and especially the Paul Maurice season, Cody.
Yeah.
I think they would be like, why is Bob sitting there not saying anything? Strip the C from Barkov. Why is Paul Maurice not in the room? Nick, Cody would be like, he's not in the room because he's in the coach's room, and it's a small clip. These would be all things that are said negatively towards certain individuals on our team if they were sitting there in that silent, dead, pit of emotions of dealing with this loss.
And I do feel bad for them. I mean, we lost the Stanley Cup final, right? And it sucked, and we lost the Stanley Cup final, and it wasn't really close. We kind of saw the writing on the wall after game 2.
I'd rather lose in a situation like how we lost.
Exactly where I knew
to win a game.
I knew we didn't have a chance, but they came back from a 3-0 series lead. That 12-day period, coming back down from 3-0 was probably one of the greatest, the greatest times of their lives. Right, they're coming back each game and each period. And each shift that they generate momentum, the fan base starts to build belief and all that. Just,
not even hockey history, Nick, but
sports history, right? And
that false hope that always gets you.
I'm just going to say this: it was a 1-goal game in Game 7. If you would have told the Oilers fans that after Game 3, they would have been like, "Okay, we could do this," and they did think we could do it. They could do it.
That heartbreak that some of the Oilers fans or the Oiler players, were feeling there. Lots of us went through that ourselves after going up. You go up 3-0, right? And then it takes it to a Game 7. The amount of stuff that we all heard throughout the community, some of us were in bits for days.
I remember after Game 6, that was probably, I know Kirby wants to bring up the Columbus game in Paul Maurice's first season. That was probably no doubt, not probably the lowest moment of our spaces, post-game spaces.
Oh yeah,
and it's not like it was just a mix of everything: angry, frustrated, sad, perplexed, right? And looking at that video, it's all fun for us, but it just reminds you, they're the guys that just went through an 82-game season. They took it. They extended the season as long as they possibly could have. And it's a awful reminder that, you did all that work for nothing really. And now you have to start all over again next season, which I remember feeling that last season, we got to start over. We were this close, but you remain confident and you're a good team.
Yeah, exactly. And I want Ryan's perspective on this, living in the province of Alberta, living in northern Alberta, up there in Edmonton. Ryan, you might have a different perception, different take on this, but things I was seeing online twofold was from our fan base. To me, my opinion, people can disagree with it all you want. I don't think it's a great look for us because we went through it the year prior. And it's like you're laughing at this video of where there's nothing really being said other than from one player, Zach Hyman. And he was the one that spoke up in the 90-second or less video. And I saw a lot of comments that were probably not from Oiler fans, that weren't even probably from Panther fans, that were saying, Connor McDavid isn't a leader. He's not a captain. Why is Zach Hyman speaking up? This is a 90-second clip that we're seeing here. And I would say more good on Zach Hyman than let's bash on Connor McDavid, the greatest player on the planet right now. And I'm not the biggest Connor McDavid fan. I've always kind of more favored Leon Draisaitl. That's another story because fans don't like him now since we've gone through that series with Leon. But Ryan, kind of what are your feelings on that from that perspective? And kind of some of the things that are being said from our fan base, maybe from fan bases. Obviously, I hate the Oilers and the Leafs because they want Connor McDavid to be their own. Obviously, the Flames, the Canucks, that are natural rivals to the Oilers. So, yeah, wherever you want to take that, Ryan, you might have different takes than us.
Yeah, first, I'd like to say I saw the most people making fun of was definitely Canucks fans, which is, it's just funny how, like, them and the Oilers, it really reignited that rivalry just playing in the playoffs. And the NHL is better the more rivalries there are. I just want to start by saying that. And second of all, I want to say when you watch that video, you really understand why McDavid didn't go out to get that Conn Smythe. And just because he didn't, there's that, it's called silent leadership. There's some times where you just need to sit there and you just being there is showing you're a leader. A lot of people, especially out of our fan base, called him a sore loser and said, oh, how it's disrespectful that he wouldn't even go out and get a Conn Smythe. And all I'm saying is I never agree with that take. And you watch that video and you just look and think, wow, he's just showing that he's equal to the team. He's emphasizing how much of a team sport hockey is. You watch games like basketball and people, they care more about the finals MVP or individual awards. And just there's a more selfishness there. And then you watch hockey and you just see how these guys, they really care about one thing only, and that's the Stanley Cup. And just him being there with the team, all of them, I think that was leadership. Even though we didn't see him speak up, we don't know what happened. I don't think people can fault him for that.
No.
And just
I 100% agree.
And it's a short video, right, Ryan?
Yeah, that's
I don't know everything that was said.
90 seconds out of the thing? Out of they're probably there for at least 20, 30, 40 minutes, even longer. We don't know. And just watching that for the first time, I had a similar reaction almost to Ben, where I was like, we won. We did that to a team. We broke them. Like, I'm so happy. Like, watch them cry after that grueling series. And then I think I've seen it a couple more times after because it was on my Twitter feed a lot, or X feed. And I just, I don't feel bad for them, but I can resonate with them. It's like they really put everything on the line. They came back from down 3-0. Like Cody said, they went through all that adversity and then lost by 1 goal in Game 7. And it's just like that pure heartbreak where it's just, how do you recover from that? Like, it's nothing you can do about it. It just hurts.
Yeah. And it's funny. I think I would have been more upset with McDavid if he went out there and got the Conn Smythe trophy. Because I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's a bad look. You come back to the locker room.
People were going to complain, whatever.
Either way.
There's no way.
I think there's a happy medium, guys, where they can have like a setup behind the scenes down by the dressing room area, locker room area. And that's where like they could have Emily Kaplan or whoever's down there and present it to the player and something like that. Then I would look at the player a little differently if they didn't come out for that. But that gives them their own little private space and private time, especially if you're on the road too, you guys. Like,
and the fact that they got that close too. Like, I don't understand how you get that close and you're just totally fine getting up and getting an individual award after.
Yeah, and that's
and Giguere had to do it, guys. Giguere had to do it on the road in New Jersey in Game 7, 1-goal game. And people make fun of that picture to this day that he looks so disheveled. He's got the full beard going. His face looks so droopy and drawn. He looks like he's aged 10, 15 years. Reggie Leach, when he won in Ron Hextall, they never did those presentations when they were the losing player taking home the Conn Smythe. So, Ben, I just wanted to add that part in.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing is, like you said, you can go up and accept that award, and then people might just turn around and go, "Oh yeah, he's all about himself, personal achievements," and then that's the other narrative that goes kicking around. So,
no win.
Like you said, like it's not, it's a no-win situation, right? And like, just to see him sat there and just not saying anything, people are whinging about that, and I kind of lost a bit of respect for McDavid in the series for my own personal reasons. However, like, these guys, they are at the height of their performance every single night, especially someone like Connor McDavid. Someone like him may need time just to sit there, collect his thoughts. Like you said, it's a 90-second clip. We may not see much more of it at the moment. there might stuff that come out later on, and he does get up and speak, and once he's gathered his thoughts, come up with the right things to say to his players. Like at the end of the day, he's the captain. He's probably going to be called on to speak at some point. So that's just everyone's individual, right? You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to stand up and say this, that, and the other," right?
For sure.
And some of our fans, Cody and Nick, are going to be like, "Why are you guys talking about this?" I think why I'm bringing this to our podcast and this platform is we were through this experience last year. So if you're a new Panther fan over the last year or two, the last 5 years, it's not like, Kirby, you're trying to bring it back to 96 or 2003 with the Devils and Ducks. No, we went through this last year. It was right on our doorstep.
So there's also a very good chance the Oiler fans could be looking back at this a year from now, and they're going to be a lot happier than they are right now, right? I think
you start laughing at those fans, and you're getting into online. And then they end up winning the next 12 to 24 months. It's we saw what we did. We really found our game last season, the year we lost the cup. We found our game in the playoffs, and then it just continued on into the next season. And it was kind of just a continuous thing up until the very end, even though it was a little bit scary at the end. But, Oilers fans, I'll say this, they're going to have as good a shot as anybody next year. Especially the way the conferences line up, and we'll see what happens, right? But there's been a lot of talk about, and I don't know exactly who. I think it was Gretzky. One of them. There were people saying you need to lose to learn. Plenty of great players have lost championships in all sports before they won one, right? So I'm sure they'll be back. Chris Knobloch did a phenomenal job, and I think they've had a really nice offseason.
For sure. They've gotten some really good wingers too on cheap deals.
And again, we're getting a little into the weeds here at the Oilers, but I think their blueprint is learning Panthers' style of play, which I've said to our fan base repeatedly, night after night after night on our post-game shows, win 2-1, 3-2 hockey games. And if the Oilers look back at that second period of Game 7, that, to me, in my opinion, is a blueprint to a championship. And that was a very competitive second period. That's how the Oilers have to play. That's not how they played last year, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. That's not how we played. So I think that is the blueprint. You do want to copy and mimic winning teams. I think the Leafs try to copy and mimic the Panthers too much with the personnel that they bring in, including Florida Panther players this year, and trying to get heavier the year before with Ryan Reeves. But if you kind of want to look at a blueprint to a championship, look at the second period of that Game 7.
Yep. Yeah. And when teams try and mimic other teams, I feel like they make a mistake. They make one huge mistake. I feel like they try and bring in the exact personnel the team with the year before won.
And they abandoned what makes that team special already too.
Yeah, what's funny is a couple years ago, this is gonna tie into the second half of the podcast, and Ben's gonna know what I'm talking about here. For a couple years though, from 2016 to about last year, the defenseman makeup is a huge thing for the cup. I think it's one of the most important things. They went from, because when Pittsburgh won their cups and Washington won theirs and St. Louis, their defensemen were all mobile and puck movers. Letang, Dumoulin for Pittsburgh, John Carlson and Orlov and for Washington, and then St. Louis you had Pietrangelo and Jay Bouwmeester then. And now you're kind of getting back to the bigger style of defenseman here. Which
and
is
some of those guys you named are big and mobile.
Also Colorado. Colorado.
Cale Makar, Devon.
And we're going to get into that.
But there's also been a lot of talk about the makeup of
even Bowen Byram. in that playoff.
But there's been a lot of
injuries. He's had injuries.
There's been a lot of talk about the makeup of defense. We talked about it a lot last year.
Yeah.
I talked about minute allocation, but I also talked about, like range and, can they move? And, like Vegas and Tampa, they won, but you've seen teams like Colorado win. And I'd probably say, I thought our blue line was good, but we kind of won without we'll get into this in the second half.
Without a top 5 defense score.
Without really that clear-cut number 1 defenseman, kind of did it by committee, which,
Vegas did that as well.
Vegas did it similarly. Like they talked about Pietrangelo and Theodore, right? But, there was a lot of talk about our defense and Aaron Ekblad and a bunch of other guys. But
Aaron Ekblad's going to be featured on this podcast and our next podcast with a guest.
But it was kind of...
You want Aaron Ekblad content. I know Cody loves it. Ryan's a big Ekblad
kind of
guy.
interesting to see, how everything shaped up, and
and Ben
we got
as well.
Yep.
I think, Nick, you and I are the least Aaron Ekblad backers on this podcast episode with Ryan and Ben.
Probably, yeah.
And we're not Ekblad haters. We're not.
No,
Ekblad.
I'm just. I wasn't a huge on paper. I wasn't a huge fan of our defense score. I still think there wasn't a lot of help from forwards and a very good system, and goaltending.
And a great goaltending
was really good last year. I know, but if you take a look, how many times do we see Anthony Stolarz and Bobrovsky making big saves on odd man rushes? There were
Ryan
times last year.
123 breakaways during the regular season. Carolina.
And that's another thing where I think a lot of things are changing. You're seeing a lot of the teams use more two-way forwards to win cups. I mean, I think the only non-two-way guys in our cup run last year was Lomberg and Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe maybe.
And Tkachuk was an elite two-way player on Calgary, so he had it in him. And I think in the playoffs there was a match where he showed that a little bit.
Yeah, but I still wouldn't call him two-way.
No, not anymore. No, for sure. He definitely changed his style when he came here.
Vegas, Eichel and Stone.
Yeah.
And, Panthers has something similar to that. Barkov, Reinhart. And it's just
Lundell.
now, Lundell too. And then you had Kevin Stenlund, who, I think all of us feel like he's going to be the biggest loss for us. I know Kirby's going to think Montour, but I think Stenlund at points.
Yeah, Stenlund for me, man.
Stenlund fixed one of the biggest problems this team had, which was the penalty kill. And if you saw us last postseason, the reason why the Boston series went 7 was because we could not stop that power play.
We're getting killed on the special team.
I couldn't watch the power play.
Every time of the power play in my head, I was like, okay, we're down 1. Okay, we're down. It was just like
Kirby got upset with me because I had to get up from my seat and walk away when the penalty kill came up.
We're not getting into that.
And
the worst,
but Boston, they had we'll give them credit, 2 year seasons ago, elite penalty kill.
But it's not like they had a world. And
I saw some film on them where they just really sucked off all of our board play, where we do use the board a lot, Cody, when we're running the power play.
And I think that's what killed us on our power play this postseason, where our power, Edmonton did a great job of this. They shut down the plays on the boards and got the puck cleared. And once it was clear, we were never getting back in.
And Edmonton never played that style before, which was...
They also struggled a lot with zone entry as well.
Yeah, because here's the thing. They kept trying
Don't get me back to Bruno days. Don't get me back to Bruno.
They kept trying the same thing with the zone entry. It was like Barkov go in, feed it to Verhaeghe, and Verhaeghe would lose the puck every time.
It was hard to watch.
But and I don't know why you didn't try Montour a couple of times in zone entries. Heck, just let him skate. Why not?
Is that a system thing or is that a personnel thing? Because we should have our defense.
I think it's more of a system
faking the pass and then bringing it through. It's like the fake shot play.
I think it's more of a system thing.
I think so too.
Yeah, because
we need to incorporate that with Boquist and other guys.
When Montour looked the best on the power play, and it was specifically the Boston series when we came back down 3-1, his best moments came when the power play 2 were on the ice. Because remember that goal, backhand on Swayman? That's when the PP2 was out there. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go. Because power play 2 plays unscripted, and that's when Montour's at his best. And he just went, and he scored. I feel like the power play 1's too scripted at points.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
And we're going to get defensemen later. If Seattle's running Dunn on PP1 and say they run Montour on PP2, that's dynamic power play.
Seattle runs both units pretty evenly.
Too bad you need it in order to have a dynamic power play. You got to have somewhat good forwards, which Seattle doesn't have. But hey, we're here nor there. But
we'll see. I might be higher on them this year than the last.
But Nick, I got a question. Nick, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Ben's got some sweet Stanley Cup Panthers merch right there.
Yes, he does.
With the hat and the shirt.
Yes.
Ryan has that banner right there he's holding up.
I've got my Southeast Division shirt on.
Oh my
gosh. I got some new merch. I got some new merch coming in today from our Caneswear, our sponsors. So just wanted to say a few things here. Panthers fever is here. Are you geared up? Caneswear and Davie is the place for all your Florida Panthers needs. They have the latest gear for our favorite NHL team. Jerseys, polos, t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Caneswear has you covered. Stop by their store in Davie or go to PanthersWear, WEAR.com for all your Panthers gear.
Cats and Rats podcast. And now, a special segment.
All right, I've been looking forward to this segment all week here. So again, we had to kind of compile a list from somewhere online. Right now, NHL Network, TSN, Sportsnet, they haven't released their full list yet, but JFresh is a great guy to follow on the Twitter X platform. Any list is not perfect, but I just want to say off the top, gentlemen, the fans did a great job on this list. We always want to complain in today's world, today's online world, what things are wrong, what things are awful. Like, if we look at this defense list that Cody's going to share with us, so again, I recommend everyone to jump over to our YouTube channel, look at this list here as you listen to us, but we're going to talk you through it if you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify. So guys, make sure to mention the guys' names, where they're ranked when you're talking about them, because not everyone's going to be watching this on the YouTube stream, but you're going to get a lot out of this if you're over on our YouTube channel right now. So we're going to get into this list. Again, it's a fan poll ranking list. We're going to get into the top 9 there, Cody, and I want to say to the whole panel, guys, I don't have a problem with the top 9. I think the top 9 is the top 9. Let's get into that right away here.
I have one problem with the top 9. I think Victor Hedman's still a top 5 defenseman.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I can't put him above any of the top 4, but I think he's 5. I think if you knock down Heiskanen to 6, McAvoy to 7, you put Hedman at a 5. I think the top 9's pretty
and
good.
Hedman's ranked at number 7 here.
Yes, Hedman's ranked number 7. I think he should be 5.
I actually totally disagree with that. I think Hedman is one of those players right now is people are living off of his last couple of years instead of focusing on what he did this year. His offensive game, excellent, but I just watched him play. I noticed. I know there's stuff that backs up. This guy has been declining defensively, and especially this year, his defensive numbers were so bad. And when I think you say top 5 and you look at a guy like Miro Heiskanen, I think Miro Heiskanen should be 4. I think he's better than Yossi. That's a hot take, but I'm telling you, guy, he plays heavy minutes. He's not the biggest guy, but he's good with the puck. He makes smart plays. He's high IQ. He plays offensively and defensively. And I think he's a leader of that defense on Dallas, which goes far. And I think he was just huge in the playoffs. So I would disagree with you.
Here's my drawback with Heiskanen. He doesn't know when to switch to defend with his stick or defend with his body. That's my biggest drawback with them. The prime example, the viral McDavid goal. I'm sorry. That's not happening if it's like our defense. He tries to be finesse and go for the stick, and McDavid goes right around him back, and it's in the back of your net. That's my biggest drawback with Heiskanen. And to be honest with you, like, I just saw Victor Hedman in that playoff series versus against us. Like, I thought more of the problem was the rest of their defense just wasn't good enough.
I agree, Cody. And he had a lot of tire on his treads from the last few playoff runs. And this year I thought he came back to Hedman.
Like,
so I'm with you there, Cody. I just want to add on Ryan's point there. Miro Heiskanen, Ryan, you're really high on him there. And me and Nick are high on Heiskanen, but I don't know if I would have him 3.
No, I wouldn't have
3. I think
or 4. I think he's 4. I think he
would be either be 4 or 5. I mean, this guy.
I think Cale Makar, Adam Fox, and Quinn Hughes are better than him. And I think after that, that's Heiskanen.
Okay, I want to jump in quick. Cale Makar, generational, without a doubt, number 1. But Ben, you have some stuff to say on Cale Makar.
Yeah, like the thing is with these fan votes, everyone I think goes off point production way too much, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying Cale Makar is a slouch in a D zone by any stretch of the imagination, but like if you're talking like, D first, probably go Quinn Hughes and maybe Yossi above him, maybe even Adam Fox. But it's a very hot take. I'm fully aware of that. Yeah, but Cale Makar, like, do you know what I mean? But like, Cale Makar is amazing. You can't take that away from him. And like, I've watched film on him lately of him doing stuff with Devon Taves in the D zone, but I like the way they pair up. So I'm not fully putting that on Cale Makar. Yeah. Now he is great. He is great at evading threats. That's one thing I will give him for his defensive skating.
That is a hot take, but Cody, Nick for sure, and we're really high on Devon Taves. But anything to say there, guys, on the Colorado pairing?
I think that's the best pairing in the league between that and Ekholm and Bouchard.
That's Canada's first pair right there.
Yeah,
that's
their first pair. Cale Makar is just generational, and I don't think he is as like the best defensive defenseman in the league. I don't think he's there, but I will say his IQ is generational, and that allows him.
I also think he's
and I think
confident.
I think it's not.
I think he's still head and shoulders above anyone else.
I don't think it's far-fetched to say this. He's also the best skater in the league.
Oh, most definitely.
I
which
mean,
makes
like,
him, makes him one.
Which is like
unbelievable.
And listen, like you said, he's not a slouch defensively, Ben. I mean, this guy's still probably a very like a well above average defender, right? And when you're that dynamic of a skater, and you know, it's just everything. Like you can be a little bit weaker in your defensive zone. Not that he necessarily is, but in my opinion, like Cale Makar, like I don't even think there's really a close second. Like I just think he's that good. Like this, and it's really for me the
his own tier, right? His own.
It's
tier.
like it's Cale Makar and then everybody else. Like you could argue about Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox, who goes too, depending on the season, right? But Cale Makar, for me, it's just no defenseman has the skating ability of.
And
he takes over games, guys. He takes over games.
10 years.
What guy on that list? And I know Ben. I love that there's discourse here. What guy on that list can take over games? We've seen it with Quinn Hughes a bit, and Cody, you watch Quinn Hughes really closely. But Cale Makar has done it for.
I think when he's on his best, Roman Josi can.
He can. Okay.
I can make like
because again he drives the offense like Nashville. They don't.
I don't think McAvoy, Miro, or Adam Fox.
No, I think Miro's a little bit.
No,
I think Miro more is a little bit more responsible. He's a little bit more of a
same thing with Fox.
Victor Hedman used to have it in him to.
Yes. But I think Roman Josi.
Victor Hedman for sure.
I think Roman Josi. When you take a look at the forwards on Nashville, right? Like they're not. If you take a look at everybody in that top 5. Ranking, and even in the top 10, most of those defensemen, they really have good forwards to go.
I just want to throw this out there, everyone, quickly. Out of those, top 5, 6, 7 guys, if you had to pick a guy off there to build your team around defensively, who are you taking?
Top 6, you said?
Yeah.
7.
Adam Fox.
Yeah, that's what I'm leaning.
Adam Fox easily.
Strictly defensively or like just
all around Adam Fox. I'm sorry. He's
in terms of pure ability, like I really think I might lean towards Roman Josi. Like he's been
here's why I pick Adam.
I like Hedman most of
obviously I'm gonna be honest, Cale Makar would probably be Cale Makar would be number 1, but like pick another guy, Roman Josi.
Yeah, here's why I pick Adam Fox. Because he's gonna be my power play quarterback who's proven. But this is also a big thing to me. He's also going to be my number 1 PK guy. And Adam Fox at the top 7 of those, I think is like we saw him against us, but I think he was hurt. He was hurt like in these playoffs.
Sure. Draisaitl was hurt. Fox was hurt.
And Fox is a guy that doesn't have to go below the faceoff dots like Makar or Josi, for example, to make an impact. He can make an impact strictly from the blue line.
Well, this is my argument as well, Steve. That's, he's a bigger guy, and you say he can play PK. What does that tell you? More defensive-minded? Yeah. So that's where I would lean as well because of the defensive thing. Now, I'm not going to slag off Cale Makar here because I think he's amazing.
No doubt.
However, if I'm building, around anyone, I want like a big, more of a gritty kind of player, puck-moving, defensive guy. And the thing with like the whole points thing that I alluded to earlier, I don't as much as a blessing it is to have high numbers from your defenseman. I don't need that. That's what my forwards are there for.
Yeah.
I guess I'll be the one who takes Cale Makar, and I'll even say this: I'll take Cale Makar over any defenseman since Lindstrom right now because
Ryan, I'm with you. Cale
Makar,
I'd
agree with that.
I'm with Cale Makar or Hedman, even if I have to take a little off.
Hedman's a close second for me, but I'm just like Adam Fox is like outside is probably my favorite defenseman in the league.
I thought we were doing
I just can't discount the championship experience. He won the Conn Smythe, if I recall correctly. He's been through runs. He's just that skating, that way he makes everyone around him better.
When international competition plays, we're not going to notice McAvoy and Fox and Miro. We're going to notice like Makar.
And it also depends where my team is. Because let's say I'm building and I'm in Canada starting a team. I would take a Canadian defenseman. because over
Makar can outplay McDavid on the international platform.
True. But over the years, we've seen American players request trades and not want to sign with a team like Canada. Adam Fox is a guy who didn't want to be in Calgary or
Carolina.
So for me, it's like you got to take that in, and I've just seen
a little bit of Dougie Hamilton in
Fox from Cale Makar too. I Cale Makar.
And before we move on to the bottom, like rounding out the top 9, we have Rasmus Dahlin at 8 and Evan Bouchard at 9. I have no problem with those guys being there.
I don't either.
Like if you flip, I don't mind it. Like Dahlin had down year last year.
I could say something at 10 and 11.
Nick, you're big on Bouchard.
I really do like Evan Bouchard. I think where he is right now, I mean, obviously, I think playing on a power play with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl helps a lot. But, I mean, again,
this defensive game's coming around a little bit.
There are tendencies where he does take some plays off, particularly like when somebody's getting it on the forecheck, he can kind of get a little lazy.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, obviously, Cale Makar would be number 1.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about top 6, but it'd be, for me, Makar, Hedman, Yossi, around in terms of, like, if I wanted to build my...
I didn't know you were that high on Yossi.
I really like Roman Yossi, because, again, it's just, like, seems like for the longest time, and
I know he's just consistent.
He's so good. Like, it is
so consistent. I remember he was second fiddle to Shea Weber, and then when Weber gone, he really took off.
The guy is just ridiculous. Like Adam Fox and Quinn Hughes, not taking anything away from them, but we saw Quinn Hughes struggle a bit in the playoffs.
That was because of the load he had to bring on. Because Hronek stuck down the stretch.
Well, exactly, but I think that Roman Yossi doesn't really, and he's always had a good defense to go with.
Ben was talking on Quinn Hughes, and I want to move on with the list here, gentlemen. But he was really impressed by Quinn Hughes' play, and I said that was probably in the Edmonton series. I thought he got bullied around in the Nashville series.
He did. Yes, but the thing was with Quinn in the playoffs, he had to take such a big load because he was supposed to be the best defensive guy and their best offensive guy, and it didn't help. Pedersen just went silent. And
Edmonton,
most of their guys did,
and the fact to skate.
Nikita Zadorov was their best player. So
he was lucky. I don't want to talk about that one.
Ben, what were you saying there before we move down the list of the defensive?
Besser was their best player.
Yeah. Edmonton just seemed to give Quinn Hughes a crap ton of room just to skate around and play his game.
Yeah.
Compared to playing in the other series,
Nashville's going to be a bastard to play against in the future. But moving on to the 10 through 20 list.
We've got a lot of defensemen here, Cody, and offensive ones. This is an interesting part of the list.
Here's
First thing, I would flip
Taves and Slavin.
Yeah, easily.
Taves is the top 10. Slavin is good at 11.
I'm with you guys there.
I know Kirby wants to move Hamilton from 14 into the top 10, but
hey, Ben, you want to talk on Hamilton?
Do I want to talk on Hamilton? I just honestly can't understand why he's so high up. I think the guy at this stage of his career is on a massive downhill trajectory. Why?
And he can't stay healthy.
He can't stay healthy, and I just don't agree with him being so high up. But then I'm biased because I'm not a massive Dougie Hamilton guy anyway. So I think he's overrated personally.
You'd have him down in the 20s, 24 range.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, again, he's hurt all the time. Like he had a good season last 2 seasons ago. The year prior when they made the playoffs, right? But it's like he's always hurt. He has one good season, and then he's like
everything told me when they played Tampa, he wasn't there, and that's when they needed him. Carolina had a chance to knock off Tampa in that series, closely contested games, and you don't get a guy like that that's this highly touted step up and be your big time player, which Carolina needs.
I just think he's like it's inconsistent. He's hurt too much. Like I haven't seen him consistently enough to like really understand. Like
okay,
like I get
now. This is let's spend some time just to jump in here on Gustav Forsling. Gustav Forsling stands. This is his tier. A lot of comments where like. Again, he was the biggest riser from last year, 69th ranked to 13th ranked now. A lot of Panther fans still not happy about that, Cody.
No, I think he's perfect where he is. You can move him down 2 or 3 spots. I think that's perfect for him because here's the thing. I could see Josh Morrissey, like you can move him above Josh Morrissey. I could see that. Anyone else? No.
I don't even think you could say over Josh Morrissey, just for how long he's been doing it.
Yeah, but the thing is with Forsling, like that's the thing. Like all the guys that above him have been doing this for 2-3 years, which is why he can't be much. If he does it again, then we'll have the conversation. I think he's in.
Or Slavin and Taves that have done it longer than.
Slavin's been the Forsling for years now. Like
yeah, and don't forget, a lot of people who didn't watch us over the years last year. Forsling, and especially during the playoffs, was not good at all.
He was not.
He really struggled.
Like, and I'll say that, like, I know, and listen, plus minus, I'm sure that's a great stat, and it's helpful for some categories, but we were really bad. Like, Palmer used to associate, like, we were abysmal defensively, and again, we didn't have a good team, but Gustav Forsling didn't help. And again, I guess you could say everybody was bad, right?
Except for Montour. Montour was like the only positive on the back end that year.
But it's like,
can I just jump in, Nick? I proposed this question to Ben, and Ben gave me silence. And I said, silence is golden. If you could name a Panthers defenseman, just the last 3 seasons, President's Trophy year, season that we went to the final against Vegas, and then being Stanley Cup champions, who's our best defenseman in those 3 seasons combined?
There are 3 different defensemen. Aaron Ekblad.
There's not one guy. Is there one guy?
No, it's Ekblad in the President's Trophy year, Montour in the year we lost to Vegas, and
it's Forsling this year.
Like
but combined over those 3 years, though, who is the best combined over the 3 years?
I can't pick one.
You can't pick one.
Well, because here's the thing: it's like Forsling and Montour really didn't, especially Montour didn't have a prominent role in the President's Trophy year. And it was Weegar and Ekblad, right?
Here's my answer: it's Forsling. And here's why.
I would say that, yeah.
Here's why. If you rank them each of those by each year, Forsling's never last. President's Trophy year, it was Montour because he was buried.
Mm-hmm.
Second year, it was Ekblad because he was horrible. Yeah. And this year he's first. He was second, first. Montour went last, first, probably second.
I would say Forsling was third.
I would say last.
Third in the President's Trophy year.
I would call him second because Ekblad got hurt again. And Ekblad went from first, last. So my opinion, if you ask me that question, I think it's Forsling. If you had
but it's not a confident answer, Cody.
It's not, but it's the best answer.
Also,
now if you say 6 years or 5 years, it's Ekblad.
Yes, because here's the thing.
But you make
people forget that he was Norris.
But again, when you take a look further down the list, like I think Forsling's around the tier of like a Shea Theodore.
Thank you.
Like a Sergachev, even a Noah Hannafin, like maybe he might be better than Hannafin, but I think that's what he is.
And,
like,
I think next to Hannafin, right?
But
there,
that's
right?
perfect.
I think that's his tier, and those are a good group of defensemen. Yeah. Theodore, Hannafin, Sergachev, Forsling, like that's what.
Sider, which Cody's not high on, but me and Nick,
I'll explain why I'm not high on him. Actually, no, I'm high on his potential, but I'm not high on his development.
He's also
why is Carlson ahead of Dobson? Dobson had a great year.
Reputation. Reputation's my only answer.
Dobson to me is top 12.
I
don't know about all that.
Dobson, I think, should be top 15. I think Hamilton should be out of the top 15. I think Ekholm should probably be moved up a spot or two, depending on. Like, I think Forsling's better than Ekholm, right? But depending on what you do with like.
But isn't Ekholm's spot respectable to where Forsling's spot is respectable?
Yeah, but I don't think
Ekholm dropping.
I don't think he's better than. I don't think Dougie Hamilton's at this point, especially based off this last season where he barely played, can be better than Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah, here's the thing about Dobson and why I don't think he's top 12. And this is a big thing for me. He plays sheltered defensive minutes. And I could prove evidence why.
Do you have his offensive and defensive zone starts so you can pull him up here?
Oh, he had way more offensive zone starts. I forgot what the number is, but
to me, Noah Dobson is a bona fide number 1. There is not a lot of names on this list. When you get into the teens, guys.
Potential. I'm not saying bona fide.
Bona fide.
I agree with Kirby for sure. I think he's bona fide number 1.
I don't think he's a bona fide yet because he needs to play.
Around when he's on the ice too, and he just elevates the team when he's there.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
Whether it's on the power play or not, Cody, he takes over moments.
Yeah, but a number 1 is he's on the ice when you need him to score a goal and to defend a goal. He's not out there to defend one.
Bouchard,
your list is going to be very small then. Your list
it's very small. Because here's the thing, only the top 5 guys really, or the top 7 guys are out there.
Yeah, but then
I say there's more number 1s. I'd say there's more number 1s than that. Ryan, go ahead.
Bouchard doesn't penalty kill. Bouchard, when when they're up a goal and they have an empty net, he's not on the ice there. So if you want to say that for Dobson, you got to keep consistent.
Yeah,
and I feel like
no, for Bouchard, he was out there.
And stop giving Slavin and Taves love on the defensive side if you're not giving
the Oilers
Dobson
had
love.
5 defensive penalty killing, and everyone but Bouchard played on the penalty kill.
Yeah, because they play Bouchard every other freaking minute. Because the biggest problem with Edmonton was, and this was Don Black's biggest criticism to me. He could not allocate the minutes correctly.
That was a big issue.
Because Bouchard, Ekholm, McDavid, Hyman were out there every other shift. So, and you're not giving any of your other guys run, which is more reason why they lost. But to me, like I'm just like not big on Dobson, because here's the thing: the Islanders surprisingly didn't. They had 4, like they're one of the only teams to do this. Edmonton's another one. They had 4 defensemen above 20 minutes a night.
And who is Dobson playing with though?
Romanov, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and so where's Romanov on the list compared to a guy like Ekblad?
And look at
that
Pollock.
affects why he wasn't getting those defensive minutes or those.
Honestly,
minutes.
Romanov should be on this list.
That Cody likes those defensive defensemen, and Ben, you can speak us too. Those guys dropped like a rock this year, and Dobson is where he is, and he could even have a higher trajectory.
And why those guys dropped was the loss of the defensive system, because they went from Trotz to Waugh to Lambert. They just couldn't. They don't match up.
That speaks on Dobson as a young guy that he can step up into that in a new system.
But here's the thing:
I know there were some Islander fans talking about like they didn't love Dobson because too offensive, I guess, was what the complaint was. Like he lacks sound defensive play.
That's what the Islanders have needed.
But that's what the Islanders need. That's what they need.
Yeah,
I saw a tweet from an Islander fan, and I remember it's like, you guys do realize somebody needs to produce on the back end, right? Like, it can't just be all stay-at-home defenseman. And again, like, obviously there's the defense, like Pulak and Pelech for the Islanders really took a bad hit.
And those guys got hurt a couple times this year too.
But then they had guys like Romanov and Dobson, and even a guy they picked up, Mike Riley, who was playing top 4 minutes, and even in the playoffs played some power play time. But
but in this list, I don't think Hamilton or Carlson should be in here.
No,
I'm fine with all the other guys.
We'll
kind of move on from Dobson.
I'll just say this:
Theodore and Sergachev, but I like kind of how the late teens ends up, and we're going to get into the 20s here.
I'll say this: if I could say the first thing here,
go for it.
If Erik Karlsson and Dougie Hamilton are in this time, I think Drew Doughty should be above both of them.
Yeah,
if we're talking about like
Rudy at 23,
like if we're going to be talking about like like reputation, like they were great and now
Drew Doughty's still a workahorse.
Drew Doughty's still number one, has that great reputation. Number two, he's better than both of them.
Yeah, Drew Doughty should easily be ahead of Pietrangelo.
I think so. Also, like
he should not be 20. He had a huge fault. That's another reputation player.
We talked about the Kings blue line last year. Kirby didn't like what they did. They got rid of Dursey, who he really liked. They got rid of some other guys, right? And obviously Matt Roy took a nice step this year, but it's Drew Doughty. I mean, I think he led the league in ice time per game. Again,
he's done that like multiple times. The thing is, they still have good pieces, like Mikey Anderson's another guy that I like on that blue line.
Gavrikov's there.
Yeah, Gavrikov. I wanted it. This year he was second. John Carlson was first. And
there you go.
But he played.
All right, guys. I want to read a couple of our fan ones here, and then Ben, step back in here on this next tier here. This is from Lord Stanley. I'll get slaughtered for this, but I'd move Slavin, Taves, Morrissey, and Forsling up above Charlie McAvoy. That's a real hot take.
Wow,
that's a Panther. That's a Panther take right there.
Yeah, that's
Dougie Hamilton should move down 15 to 20 spots.
I don't know about 15 to 20.
We'll get into that. D'Lo says we won't get into D'Lo's yet. We'll try to get to you later, D'Lo. Jorge says, which we're going to get into right now, Weegs above Montour and Ekblad? Question mark.
Yeah.
Hockey
right now,
Chip Pamela says, my boy Gus is rising quickly. And then Griffin, just to kind of get into as we're getting into the Ekblad and Montour tier here. Does Ekblad in a contract year and with a healthy summer to finally train instead of rehabbing the way that he's needed to over the last few, have a huge season in store in 24-25? So we're going to get into the 20s now, Cody. If you want to kind of cover those players there.
So 21 through 20, we're going to go through 21 through 30 now. And at 21, Moritz Seider, which I think is a pretty good spot for him. But the thing is, I hate his development. I think Steve Yzerman has completely failed him in developing him as a defenseman, and here's why. If you look at any defenseman who's developed over time, they've had a seasoned great veteran next to him. Ekblad had Brian Campbell. Cale Makar, I believe, had Eric Johnson. Let's see. Quinn Hughes had Alex Edler was still there when he was there. Had those guys mentoring. And you give Moritz Seider, Ben Sherratt, and Justin Hall. How the heck do you expect him to develop like that?
Don't forget Jeff Petrie.
Come on.
It's such a waste of potential.
Yeah, and kind of goes to for the Yzer plan, which is a different discussion. But take a look, like they're spending $7-8 million, like almost $12 million on Jeff Petrie, Justin Hall, and Ben Sherratt.
And here's the biggest mistake teams make. Noticed,
and then they trade Jake Wallman, and I'm like,
that one's the puzzling move of the offseason.
And I know he wasn't good last year, but there are a lot worse defensemen on that roster than Jake Wallman.
Yeah, but here's the biggest mistake these GMs make is they sign these players like Sherratt and Hall to a couple of $1 million because they have extra cap space. But just because you have cap space doesn't mean you need to use it.
Too much cap space is not a good thing.
It's not always a good thing, but when you're wasting them on players like that, when there is bigger fish available, you don't have the resources for it. You need it. Then you end up giving away assets with players like Hall or whatever. And
now they need to sign guys like Raymond and Seider.
Yeah, they still haven't been signed. Seider's going to probably get 10.
Right, exactly. Get 10. And you're spending 12, 13, $14 million on 3 defensemen. 2 of them aren't playing every game. I mean,
2 of them aren't even top 150 defensemen, let alone top 80 on this.
They're really bad. So
I think
we'll see what happens.
I just want to get to the list here. I think the fans did a great job on this fan poll here with Vegas. 18, Shea Theodore, 20, Alex Pietrangelo, and 22, Noah Hannafin. Vegas defensemen, to me, were one of the hardest things to rank.
Yeah.
But let's get into what our fans are going to want to hear. I'm going to get the comments already. Guys, you're not talking enough Panthers. Let's talk a couple former Panthers and a current Panther. 24, MacKenzie Weegar. 26, Brandon Montour. And 27, Aaron Ekblad. I feel very generous to those guys. MacKenzie Weegar, career season. Montour, a little bit of a dip. But
he moved up.
I would say he also moved up on here. And Aaron Ekblad, I think he kind of stayed a little bit level to where he was last year. He might have slid down a little bit there, Cody, but I think it's very generous to those 3.
Yeah, I think he hangs in. I think Aaron Ekblad hangs in around there because of the cup at the moment, personally.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Ekblad
I also
guy.
think, again,
reputation,
the name brand, and not to say Aaron Ekblad was terrible last year. He was solid. But if we take a look at what Aaron Ekblad is now, what he did last year, and you start to take a look at some of the guys below him, right?
I think they're looking at the flashes he still shows, and when we see healthy Ekblad.
Right, but again, he's kind of more of a supplemental piece, like stay at home.
Yeah, but he had to change his game for this.
You got to understand, people aren't watching Panthers games every day.
Exactly.
They're calculating the last 5 years they've been watching him, and in 5 years or whatever,
we'll see what happens next year. I think would it shock me if he has a good year next year and bounces back?
I don't think it would.
I don't think it's going to happen, but
I don't think it's going to happen either.
I really think that it's kind of what he is right now, and there's been rumors over the last couple months, and after we won the cup, what are we going to do with him, and what the future looks like for him, right? So.
Ben, can you speak on Weegar at 24, Montour at 26, and even further Ekblad at 27? We're going to feature Ekblad on our next podcast.
Yeah, I think they're fair rankings. I mean, MacKenzie Weegar had a decent season this year. I think Brandon Montour was arguably better than Aaron Ekblad this year. And I think they're all fairly placed. I mean, the thing is, I've said to a few people about Aaron Ekblad is this. If he projected the way that I wanted him to project, and a lot of us already did, he would be in the top 10. Big
top
guy,
7, top 6, top 8.
Me and Kirby have said this a lot.
Forsling, big guy, plays with grit.
Before one of those injuries, he was leading the North race.
Forsling, Montour, Ekblad, all of them at their best. Aaron Ekblad is the best, and it's not close. And it's not close.
But Cody looks at that from the potential aspect. He hasn't filled it.
Yeah.
Well, yes, and I don't don't think he can get to that anymore. I don't think his potential is what it was.
He can't get to Hedman, McAvoy, or Miro.
No, this is why I don't think he's going to have a bounce back, really high, like a high end season next season. I think this is the Aaron Ekblad that we all know now. I think generally that's what it is. And
27 is really good considering all the injuries.
I'm going to be honest with you.
He is the 27th.
I don't think he is the 27th best defenseman in the NHL. If people were watching him truly night in and night out, I don't think he cracked the top. I don't.
You guys are just saying just potential, but he showed us that year he was a favorite for Norris before he got injured. I can't remember
both of those years. But Ryan, is he going to get back to that?
I don't think he'll get back to that level.
He showed us what he's capable at his best. Potential is like, we can see him projecting to be that. At his best, he was a top 5 defenseman in the league before those injuries, and it's just. He was just there.
But I think that's in the past.
But that's in the past, and that's what hurts.
I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but I'm saying you have to acknowledge he showed it. It wasn't just.
There's no doubt, but I'm talking about right now, today, and just this past, not just this past season, but the past 2 seasons. I think if people actually watched Aaron Ekblad, he's still a solid defenseman.
Yeah, but he's not as good. He's not the same.
I don't know if he'd crack the top 40 realistically. I don't think he would.
People say we can deal with him, like Cody will argue, because we know what we're going to get out of him. But I'll take the other side of it is like, we know what his high-end potential is, and we know he's never going to meet it again. So it's easier for some other team to take him on in the next contract than for us to do that.
But at the same
time, we're thinking of the past. We're thinking of the past, and the past isn't coming back.
No, but they're talking about and you look at the market right now. For a defenseman, he's making $7.5 million. And I've always came back to this point is if you decide on trading him, we have a huge hole. And can you fill something better for $7.5 million? And the answer right now is no, just because of the way the market's going, they're getting paid.
But this is next year when his contract's up. We've talked about Ekblad filling that hole.
See how much money he makes, but
the last couple years, I think it's more palatable moving forward that we'll be able to fill that hole. Not the last couple years, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and slate Aaron Ekblad because I'm a big Aaron Ekblad guy, like I said. And, as much as his players just declined over the last few years, I'll be upset when he goes because I ultimately think he will be getting traded maybe in the off season. Maybe not the off season, like in the.
He'd probably walk into free agency.
Or maybe that.
Yeah, that's probably the most likely.
I think if he were going to get traded, it would have happened already. It would have happened.
But shout out to the NHL for giving us less than a freaking week to get our affairs in order before the free agency starts.
Some of that stuff plays into the fact.
But the thing is with Ekblad is I think he'll be better this year, and here's why. He's going to get more offensive opportunities now because we have question marks within our power play quarterbacks here. Let's be real here.
Yeah, that's true.
Schmidt is probably the only one we're okay with. Boquist is still a question mark at points. I think Ekblad should get some run at points because here's the thing. He's the one who's changed his game the most ever since Paul Maurice became coach.
He's got a shot on him.
He's the one who's changed his game the most.
He's adapted to it well.
Yeah, and he's went from a Norris offensive guy to just being plain shutdown, which is one thing I need to see. I think if at his peak,
I just think his skating still and where he is, his injuries, his skating, and
but the thing is, if you've been rehabbing the past 3 years, you're never going to get better.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I just don't think his skating is. Can it get there?
It can get better.
I don't.
He's still young, relative.
Yeah, but again, he's been hurt a lot. I mean, and it's not, I doubt it.
I don't think you can ever crack the top 5 like he was, but I think at his potential now, where I could see the rest of his career, if he's at his best, he could hit where Theodore, Sergachev, and Pietrangelo is on this list.
I'm not there.
100% agree.
I'm not there. I can't go there. I look at guys that are further down that list where Werenski gets healthy, Brandon Montour, young 30.
Werenski's had the same problem.
Chris Tanev doesn't have a lot in him. I look at guys like Shabbat, Vince Dunn.
Same problem.
Jake Sanderson. Those guys are, to me, way closer on this rankings list.
Kirby, you said how we've watched Aaron Ekblad every game and see his potential, and we're clinging on to that. And another team might not realize what we realize, but I think that's the same point teams are saying about Shabbat, who's had the same injury concerns, the same the potential gets stolen from him. Same with Werenski. Those are 2 guys who I think, with their fan bases, think the exact same of the way we're thinking of Ekblad right now.
True. That's true. Yeah. But Morgan Riley's another one in there, up and down. I think his season was a little bit more up. Guys kind of where do we want to go here, Cody? Kind of in closing, like if we want to pick some players out here. Like to me, Dunn and Dursey, those are my guys. Move those guys up the list. Dunn at 38, Dursey at 52. It is interesting. Someone mentioned this to me. Chris Tanev at 31. I'm a big Tanev fan, but maybe he got that bump to 31 because with the league now, right?
We'll continue as we continue here with us trying to decipher these defensive rankings. We're gonna pick. I think each of us are going to pick one we think is too high or a couple that we think are too high and one that we think are too low. And I'll start here. One that I do think I have actually two guys I think are too low. At 54, Jonas Brodin. I'm very high on Brodin. And actually, if at his best, he could actually be kind of what Forsling is. Just a shut down second pair guy or first pair guy who's just silently who has a pretty good shot from the point and could jump up in the play. And another one that I think is too low that is actually not even on the list, to be honest with you. And that's Alex Romanov. Like, you're telling me he's not better than Krug, Severson, Siegenthaler, or McCabe? No chance. He was a part of that good pair for the Islanders with him and Dobson. And I do believe he deserved to be on this list. But two guys that I know for a fact are too damn high. One, Chris Tanev. He's not 31. I'm sorry.
Is that the Leaf bump?
It's the Leaf bump. He's not better than Morgan Riley. Heck, he's not even like He's better. He's not better than Morgan Riley. Don't get it out your head. He should be where McDonough, Hughes, and Roy are in the 50s. He shouldn't be 31, but the Leafs bump, And second guy, in my opinion, the worst contract this offseason, Brady Shea.
I knew you were going there, Cody. I know you well.
You're telling me Brady Shea's better than... I'm going to name all the guys below him. Like that I think he's not better than. John Carlson, no chance. Owen Power, no. He's better than Letang. Morgan Riley, no. Shabbat, no. Dunn, no. Brent Burns, maybe. And Philip Hronek? No chance. I'm sorry. No shot. Those you guys could jump in on those, but those are my 2 and 2. Like
you'd go even lower than that.
I'll say this.
Romanov deserves to be on this list.
Yeah. When Chris Letang and Owen Power, I mean, the fact that they're ahead of guys like Sanderson, Spurgeon, like Cody said, Brodin, like Harley, I know there's a lot of potential in Owen Power. We talked about that, but I don't think you can tell me that Chris Letang or even Owen Power are better than Jake Sanderson, Thomas Shabbat, and
pick your guys. Pick your guys.
But I want to pick. Okay, fine. My two guys that I think that shouldn't be there. Owen Power and Chris Letang. Guys that I think are too low on the list. I think Travis Sanheim. I think he's a guy that should be much higher. I think he should be around where Rasmus Anderson is, and maybe
you had Sanheim very high up on the early summer. Nick.
But that year tanked him so bad.
Yeah, but again, it's like he really bounced back this past year, and it's part of a reason why Philly, they were in the hunt for a playoff spot. So for me, it'd be Sanderson and Sanheim that are too low, and for too high, I'd say Owen Power and Chris Letang.
Right.
Yeah, I like that, Nick. I like that outside of Owen Power, maybe. I like that list.
Yeah, I just think Sanderson's better than Owen Power right now.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think if you're going to put a young defenseman there, fine, but there's quite a few defensemen.
I think Owen Power to me fits in that mix of Letang, Riley, which is a very kind of sketchy area.
Letang is terrible. He should not be anywhere near that.
Tanev maybe as well, even though
Letang
is
was
awful.
So bad. Oh my lord!
So I don't have a problem with Power there, but I like your other selections there. Those three names there, Nick, Ryan or Ben. Want to jump in?
I'll go if you want. So this is I'm not going to comment too much on the play of these guys and this kind of thing, but one name that jumps out to me as being too low, I'm going to go with Dmitry Orlov.
That was another one of mine.
I've always kind of liked his and Cody might agree with me, physical body back there. I'd probably stick him in the range of around sort of like Morgan Riley, Shabbat, Vince Dunn region at about 37, 38.
I think he'd be good around there.
For him.
Like, I don't know how he dropped off so far. He was actually better this year than he was like the year prior.
I might have him in the 40 to 45 range, but I see where you're going.
Listen, his contract's up. And I know we're not close to free agency, but he's one of my targets. I
think it's because Carolina has so many good defensemen that none of them really sign.
He's going to take a bigger role now that Brady Shea and Brett Pesce are gone.
I still have no idea why they signed him.
Yeah, I mean, they signed Sean Walker and
Gostisbehere.
And Gostisbehere. So, and that guy Morrow from college who was supposed to be really high on their list. So I don't really know what the plan is. Would it shock me if Morrow starts the year in the AHL? No. Would it shock me if maybe one of their defensemen got traded? Because it just seems like they have,
We'll take Chatfield, Carolina, please.
Well, they just signed him. I wanted Sean Walker, but
well, you
we're
wanted him
taking
because
over Ben's list here. Let's Ben continue.
He only wanted because he was the last right-hand D.
Yeah.
And then for guys, I think that are too high, names that just jump right out at me: Dougie Hamilton, Erik Karlsson, and I'm going to throw Zach Werenski into that mix as well because of injuries. And again, he's another one of a bit of an Ekblad situation where I think Werenski could be amazing, but he just hasn't had that thing going there in Columbus. But yeah, like I said, I'm slightly biased against, Dougie Hamilton. Karlsson used to be amazing. Maybe not so much anymore. So I think he's up there by reputation. So that's kind of my picks for that.
Yeah, we're going to stick with kind of lower down the list. And I know, Ryan, you've got someone in 40 range, I think, that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I would love to talk about Thomas Harley, and just watching him play this last year, I think he deserves to be higher on the list, as in closer to 1. And I think this might be a hot take. I think he's better than Morgan Riley. I think he's probably better than Owen Power, and both those guys are up in front of him, which I don't get. And
you got Thomas Harley from 45 up into the mid-30 range.
Yeah, I'd put him in the mid-30s for sure. And I think him with Miro were both huge parts of that Dallas decor that was so good, because you look around the rest of the core and you wonder, how is this team so good defensively? Ottinger wasn't a superstar this year by any means, but they were still just limiting chances. And I think Thomas Harley is a big part about that. And the guy who I mentioned him earlier, I think he should be way lower on this list, is Alex Pietrangelo. That's reputation right there, putting him at 20. He did drop 7 spots, but this last year he was not good. And another guy who needs to drop from, he's a guy who I think he's focused on their potential, is Luke Hughes. I don't think he's up there. I think that is people living off his last name. People are living up on the potential where he could be and his draft slot. He doesn't belong in front of guys like Matt Roy, or even some other guys on the other side. John Marino, I'd probably even take over him. Just a couple guys who've just been doing it for longer and doing it consistently. I don't even think Luke Hughes was the best rookie defenseman. I think Faber was clear of him. And then the last guy I have that I think should be the way lower on the list is Morgan Riley. I watched plenty of Leafs games. I go to university near Toronto. The Leafs games are on TV every day. It's Leafs City there. And even Leafs fans will tell you that guy is just so clueless when the puck is in his own ice. And it's not like he has that. He just doesn't have those defensive instincts. And I don't think his offense is good enough to make up for it. Even on the power play, I don't think he's good on the power play. And I have multiple fans who are fans of the Leafs that also agree that saying this guy is an offensive defenseman, terrible on the power play. And it's just, for me, it's what are you honestly bringing? If you're that bad of a liability on defense, you're constantly lost, and you can't even properly play the power play. So those are my guys I wanted to point out.
Look, I like those lists. Harley, for me, he was just, Edmonton just victimized him, man.
Edmonton really beat him up.
Yeah,
I would argue it's because Ryan Suter was also
they also
bad.
had 5 defensemen. They had Petrovic. So I really agree with you on Luke Hughes, and you take a look at the guys behind him, like Matt Roy and
Yeah, that's crazy.
Saunders, a guy I mentioned, Travis Sanheim. Like, these are first pair guys, and
All these guys are
Luke Hughes. Like, listen, the potential's there, but it's just not.
How Damon Severson's on this list, I'll never know.
Can I give my list, guys?
Yes.
Yeah,
because Nick just mentioned one of Kirby's guys. I think he's gonna say.
All your guys.
So Nick mentioned Sanderson, didn't he? I don't know if it was off air, on air. Nick,
it was. Yeah, he said on
air. Yeah,
on air. Okay, I will leave him then. But I do think like a bump arrow up there. Just a couple of guys that I think that should be up the list. Dursey at 52 and Zadorov at 59. I think those guys should be far up the list. I've got Dursey up in the kind of late 30, 40 range. So bump him up about 15 spots. Zadorov, I would have him up at least maybe like 4 to 8 slots. I want to see what he does in Boston, but super impressed with Vancouver. And I think Nick mentioned earlier in the podcast, I think
would you have Dursey
probably the best defenseman for Vancouver.
Would you have Dursey where?
Would you have Dursey like where Dunn is, like above Burns?
Why isn't Dursey above Shea, Power, Letang, Riley? Those guys there. Up there with Dunn. I have Dunn and Dursey very close. I know Cody disagrees with me on that. I like Dunn's position there. I could see him up a little bit, but I think Dursey's the big outlier there. I think he's in that group.
That's a great pick.
I just don't see it with Dursey.
Yeah, Cody just doesn't.
And Zadorov is a guy
like Pollock, Orlok. He's a number one to me.
But Zadorov is right. I think he's good where he's at.
Yeah, I just don't think you can put a guy who has never played more than third pair minutes higher than where he is.
That's fair. I'm just saying a slight bump for him.
And he's just. And one thing about Zadorov and why I'm not a big Zadorov guy, he's extremely volatile.
Yeah,
like extremely. Like
he's
either very good or very bad. And the one thing about Zadorov and why I didn't want him to Florida, he wouldn't fit here because.
No, I think he would. I think he activates into the rush.
He would
probably do it too much.
He would activate too much.
Like Mikkola, that one.
Oh my god!
I think he's a Paul Maurice guy. He was a Daryl Sutton guy. I think he's a Paul Maurice.
But we already have a PIMS problem with our defense, and we don't need it more.
To be bigger though, Nick. You talk about being bigger. We need to be bigger, and we're going to be going against them.
And Nico Mikkola filled that same role. Like I do think Cody has a point. He'd probably jump up in the rush more than I would like. But again, it's like. That's just a guy you want on your team.
He's a more physical brand of Mikkola.
And would I pay him what he got? No, not even close. Okay. But I do think it's a very valuable guy. It's a guy that that's just like a lot of those Flames defensemen, but in particular Zadorov, especially with us losing Gustav. That's a guy I really wanted us to trade for, and I was hoping he was going to be available at the deadline.
Yeah. But I want him as like a deadline guy.
I'd like to have seen him as a deadline guy as well.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing about this list?
But just I want to get hold on here, Nick. I want to say to Ben's point, the down arrows to Carlson and Hamilton, obviously for me. But I'll add guys further down the list there. Chris Letang at 35. I would have him much further down the list.
He's probably where Orlov's at 55, 56.
Yeah, so that's my one there. I know Ryan mentioned Morgan Riley, but I think Letang's drop off in his game is far more than Morgan Riley.
There is one thing I wanted to say about this list. It's very weird. You have guys like Tanev and Brady Shea and Chris Letang, like they're like all in that top 35, like and I look at it, I'm like, I'll take Shabbat, Dunn, Sanderson, Rasmus Anderson,
Nick are aligned.
Maybe even Spurgeon and Brodin, and possibly Ron, at least over Brady or around what Brady Shea and Chris.
You just named a half dozen guys that I agree with you on.
Exactly. Like I know Brady Shea got that big contract. I don't know what Nashville was doing there, but like I'm looking at it like Rasmus Anderson, Keandre Miller, Thomas Harley, Jake Sanderson. Like these are guys that are better than Brady Shea to me. Right now, I don't. And then Chris Tanev, I know it's that Maple Leaf bump, and everybody says he's this great defensive defenseman, which he is. But
I wish he would get the praise, but he's so far up the list now. People,
but I think it's starting to get like where he was really underrated. Now people are really starting to overrate him.
You know what's funny? You know who I just realized not on this list?
Who?
Darnell Nurse is not on this list.
Wow.
for a good reason.
Jacob
$9.25 million.
Yeah,
but I would take.
And what did you say, Ryan? There, Nico Mikkola. D'Lo gave a shout out. D'Lo said in our mentions that he can see him on this list next year.
I would take Mikkola over a guy like Severson or Cam Fowler at this current stage in his career.
I would take him over Siegenthaler.
Or even Oliver
Siegenthaler.
I would take Mikkola over him any day.
From 71 down, I'd take Mikkola over all those guys.
Yeah, so I'm saying I would like to see Mikkola there.
And we don't see OEL on that list, right?
He is there.
OEL 76.
Oh, 76.
Yeah, the Leafs bump.
That was a guy that was underrated last year.
He moved up 31 spots. He got the Leafs bump.
Yeah, that's a...
I'd probably take Mikkola over Shane Gostisbehere as well. Mike Matheson, I'd take over.
I have a question. What do you guys think of Parayko and Adam Larson?
Parayko fell off.
I like Larson.
I like Larson. I think Parayko fell off huge. But I think around.
Right. I just think like Esa Lindell is probably, I'd put him behind Brandon Carlo, John Marino, Adam Larson.
My last thought.
Yeah, we're wrapping.
You cannot find a more overpaid defense than St. Louis.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh my lord. Krug, Falk, Parayko, Letty.
Yeah, that's... Hey, they won the cup, right? Who cares? You win that one.
Yeah,
Cody's high on the Blues. We'll get into that when we do our Western Conference preview show. But I think we're going to wrap it there, gentlemen. Ryan, Ben, I want to thank you for today. Let's start with you first, Ryan. Where can everyone follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter, just first name, last name. And then, Instagram, RAIAN.C10. Love to talk to any of you guys about hockey or anything, anytime.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for calling. You're going to be part of our rotating guest panel throughout the season ahead here. And Ben, yourself, where can everyone follow you?
Yeah, same goes on Twitter. Just Ben Saunders on there. I believe it's Ben Saunders 38. It's probably the same as my Instagram, which is Ben Saunders 38. And if anybody is interested, I am in a bit of a heavy rock kind of band, and you can find that at Blackjack021 on Instagram. We've got our new bass player, and hopefully going to be releasing some new music soon.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to remind you to drop that plug. Thank you for doing that there. And you'll be part of our rotating guest panel as much as you can be overseas. It's very tough to do these time zone differences, but I appreciate your time here today with us, Ben. Anything on the way out, Cody or Nick?
Not really. I mean, football season's here, but since football is here, that means we're just getting closer to hockey training camp and preseason. Got a lot of Panthers got some things to look out for in training camp. Not power play, one quarterback. Does Samoskevich make the third line, the opening night roster, amongst other things? I mean, I can't wait, but for the time being, I got football.
And you got football. I don't know about that, Kirby, but I mean, just we're getting close to the season. It's kind of just looking forward to training camp. It's going to be a little bit weird to see so many new faces and familiar faces now gone, but as we get closer to the season, we'll going to keep talking about different things and looking forward to getting back into it.
Right.
Thank you, Nick. And I just wanted to plug our YouTube channel again. I want to make sure everyone is following us there on our YouTube channel. It'll be in our show notes description. We're doing Trivia Friday nights. Shout out to Ryan that was with us here tonight. Champion last week. Vince, 2-time defending champion. So our Trivia nights has been really good. We're pumping bigger numbers there. That's on the Twitter X platform. And as well, we got the Fantasy Football League coming up. We've got Caneswear in our league, our sponsor. We're going to do a nice prize pack for the winner there. So as always, on the way out, let's go Cats.